Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with a Pittsburgh Steelers preview and prediction of their Week 3 game Sunday night against the Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams coming into this one 1-1. The Raiders picking up their first loss in Week 2 against Buffalo. Pittsburgh, of course, getting their first win against Cleveland. Let's talk about this game. And before I begin, if you guys could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate that. So, previewing the Raiders, it's a different look from the team you saw last year in a couple ways. The most obvious one is a quarterback with Derek Carr gone. Jimmy Garoppolo brought in a couple new receivers in Jacoby Myers, who had a really good week 1 for them, missed week 2 with a concussion. No tight end Darren Waller. He was traded to the Giants. And so when you think about this Raiders team, they're a team that wants to run the ball. They want to be downhill. They want to have their big people in there, and they have not been successful so far. They have really among, if not the worst rushing attack in football. Josh Jacobs is averaging 1.6 yards per carry. His longest run on the season is 7. They're trying. He's got 18 runs on first down. That's one of the higher numbers in football. Probably would have been higher had they not been blown out by Buffalo last week, but it has not been there. So they're similar to Cleveland in the sense of they want to be a run-first team, but they're different because Cleveland is a outside zone stretch kind of team, and the Raiders are definitely not that. They are power downhill. They want big people up front. They're going to work with a 6 offensive lineman in Larry Warford, the former Lions guard. He's a huge guy, and Jacobs is a between-the-tackles type runner. So I expect them to have 2 back with a fullback. They utilize the fullback quite a bit as a traditional lead blocker. Pittsburgh's going to be in their base defense quite a bit in this game, and that's probably why they signed somebody like Braden Fehoko off the practice squad. And I don't know exactly who's going to be active and inactive when it comes to the defensive line, but Fehoko, I would anticipate being active as a guy that can help plug the run because Pittsburgh has obviously been terrible against the run. The Raiders have not run the ball, so it's the movable force against the stoppable object, and we'll see who comes out on top in this one. Pass game, their top targets are Davante Adams, who's still one of the best receivers in football, and Jacoby Myers, who they signed over from New England. As I mentioned earlier, Myers had a really good week 1. Adams always one of the top route runners, biggest threats. Pittsburgh did a great job last year, and one reason why they won that game was they shut down Josh Jacobs. They shut down Davante Adams, had just 2 catches for 15 yards on 9 targets, and so can you do that again? Although they have better receivers on the outside opposite in Myers, and so they're going to still take away Adams and probably bracket and roll coverage, but Myers on the other side, he could be in some of those 1v1 matchups that Pittsburgh will still have to win. Sorry for the interruption there. Jaylen Warren just got fined his entire game check for what they're calling an illegal lowering of the helmet against Cleveland, so had to talk about that for a moment on the site. Anyway, back to the Raiders passing game. Just last thought there, they use a lot of vertical divide routes, and so you'll see post and corners and seam and post routes and stuff to try to really put safeties in conflict. So cover 2, I wouldn't utilize much in this game because the Raiders do have some routes to the middle of the field, to the deep middle of the field. And even cover 3 or cover 1 could be tough. More cover 3 than cover 1 may put the safety in a bind. So you may see some more man coverage in this one, maybe see 2-man on 3rd and long situations. That does leave the middle of the field open, but you have man coverage underneath, which will obviously help. But that's just kind of my last thought there. I think they've had some opportunities to hit some things downfield, the Raiders have, in the middle of the field, and they've not really taken advantage so far, but I'm betting they're going to try again on Sunday night. When it comes to the Raiders' defense, I've harped on this all week long. You have to be able to run. You better be able to run on the Raiders. They have a pretty poor run defense through the first 2 games, and they run a 4-2-5, so they don't play with 3 linebackers or traditional kind of base defense the way that some teams have a 4-3 or Pittsburgh has their 3-4. They are in 4-2-5. Really, regardless of your offensive personnel, you can be heavy, you can be 21, you can be 12 personnel, 13 personnel. They're going to stay in their 4-2-5. Now, of course, they will play dime packages and more passing situations, but against the run, they don't bring that extra linebacker in. And not entirely sure why. Their kind of star nickel player is Nate Hobbs. He's a good player, good run defender, but still, he's a DB, not a linebacker. So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going heavy. I'm going 13 personnel. I'm bringing in Broderick Jones as a 6th offensive lineman, and I'm pounding the rock because if you can't run on this Raiders team, you can't run basically on anybody. So that's my goal here in the run game for this one. Pass game, Raiders are more zone than man. Good deal of cover 4, some cover 2 mixed in as well. I think the Raiders will have a similar game plan as San Francisco. 8-man box, especially with that 4-2-5. Play a lot of zone. Don't get beat deep. That's what they did against the Bills last week. Lost badly to the Bills last week, but I think their game plan is going to be pretty similar. So you may see the all-curl special from Matt Canada a lot in this game. I think Pat Frymuth could have a big game, finding holes against zone coverage, against some of those linebackers that the Raiders have. That's going to be something to watch for in this game. In their pass rush, Max Crosby, their top guy. Elsewhere, not getting much. Tyree Wilson, the rookie, will play. He has struggled so far. Dan Moore will get a bit of a reprieve, not seeing an elite guy the way that he has. And so I think he'll have a better evaluation of Dan Moore in this game. Sorry for the beeping. Alerts going off. Busy time right now. But Crosby's, of course, the top guy to stop. Last note, special teams. Raiders do have good specialists. A.J. Cole, the punter, and Daniel Carlson, the kicker. Those guys are pretty good at their jobs, and they have some decent return guys, some athletic receivers, especially watch out for wide receiver, the rookie from Cincinnati, Trey Tucker, had a 34-yard run on an end-around or jet sweep or something like that against Buffalo, and so they're trying to do some creative things in the run game there. But for my prediction in this one, and I am the Steelers' kiss of death, and so you can make fun of me in the comments, and that's fair, and probably go in the other direction. You probably won't like my prediction because I'm picking Pittsburgh 19-17, very specific and a very specific outcome to end this one. Chris Boswell kicks a game-winning 46-yard field goal to beat the Raiders. Pittsburgh has always struggled out west, especially against the Raiders, have not won there since 1995. Mike Tomlin 0-3 in his career out west against the Raiders. Hopefully that streak ends, but on the road, short week, a little beat up. You know, the Raiders are not a particularly good team, but of course Pittsburgh has had their struggles as well. But I think Pittsburgh does just enough here, especially defensively, to eke this one out and on the leg of their kicker. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back to cover this one late Sunday night and throughout the week once the All-22 drops. So appreciate you guys listening, and we'll talk to you soon.